Hello, everyone. This week we are going to be talking about the Green Revolution. What was the Green Revolution? I would like you to watch this video. It does a good job of explaining what it was. And ultimately, I want you guys to be able to determine what were some positive and negative effects of the Green Revolution. So remember, the word revolution means change. This is what you would call revolution is an example of a non-political revolution. So what that means is there's no change in the government during the Green Revolution. So throughout history, there have been many revolutions that have occurred and changed human lives, such as the Neolithic Revolution and the Industrial Revolution. Just to refresh your memory, you learned about the Neolithic Revolution in ninth grade. That was when humans went from being hunters and gatherers to domesticating animals and plants and living in one place. And then the Industrial Revolution, we learned about that this year. That was when we went from making goods by hand to making goods using machines. So those are the big changes that occur there. Those are also two great examples of non-political revolutions where there's no change in government. There's just a change in maybe how we produce things, or the Green Revolution is a revolution where we change how we grow food. After World War II, population increased greatly around the world, especially in areas outside of Europe and North America. There was concern that the agricultural techniques used in the regions with the greatest population increase would not produce enough crops to keep up with the demand. The Green Revolution was a period from the 1940s to the late 1960s when the production of crops increased drastically as a result of new technological advances such as mechanical equipment, new farming techniques, and chemical fertilizers. The Green Revolution had mixed results. There were benefits for some and disadvantages for others. So the video is going to also give you some more examples of what some of the benefits were. But basically, the Green Revolution is when we start to use pesticides, herbicides, fertilizers to increase crop yields to feed the growing population around the world. So now we're going to take a look at 3 documents to answer the question, what effects did the Green Revolution have? So if you look at this document 1, this graph, across the top, whenever we're looking at a graph, a chart, a map, we have to read the title first and then take a look at the key. So the title here says Impact of Green Revolution in India. And then down at the bottom are the years, and on the side it says grain production. So if you look at the dotted line down at the bottom right here, this is grain imports. So this is what India is importing or taking into the country from other countries. And then this line up here shows you their grain production in India. And it's steadily increasing from about 1966 into 1987. Okay, and then I want you to answer these 2 questions about grain production in India. Document 2, after we read this document, I want you to be able to answer this question according to the authors of this passage. What was one problem countries in Africa faced in attempting to adopt the Green Revolution? So we're listening for a problem. The implementation of the first Green Revolution from the early 1960s to 1975 introduced new varieties of wheat, rice, and maize that doubled or tripled yields. The new varieties were highly susceptible to pest infestation and thus required extensive chemical spraying, but they were also responsive to high rates of fertilizer application under irrigation. So large and medium-scale farmers in regions with adequate irrigation facilities, easy access to credit, sufficient ability to undertake risks, and good market integration adapted the new varieties. But these requirements meant that the new technology bypassed most poor African farmers. So that paragraph is basically saying that these new crop varieties, yes, they produced a lot of crops, which is awesome, but in order to produce all those crops, you needed to be able to have the farming equipment, the expensive fertilizers, the expensive pesticides, and so larger farm owners could afford those kind of things, but the majority of African farmers aren't large wealthy farm owners. They own small pieces of land, and they don't have a lot of money to spend on that kind of stuff, so it didn't really help them. Another reason that Africa did not benefit from the first Green Revolution was the research strategy used. To shortcut the process of varietal improvement, researchers introduced improved varieties of crops from Asia and Latin America rather than engaging in the time-consuming exercise of identifying locally adapted germ plasm and using this as the basis for breeding new varieties. After the early euphoria with the high-yielding varieties, several problems became evident. First, the need for sufficient use of pest and weed control raised environmental and human health concerns. Second, as areas under irrigation expanded, water management required sophisticated skills that were in short supply. As a result, poor farmers growing staple food crops in Africa could not adopt the new varieties. What was crucial for Africa was to develop crop varieties that could thrive in water-stressed regions without heavy use of fertilizers. In document 3, we want to know, according to David Tillman, what are 2 effects of the Green Revolution? It is not clear which are greater, the successes of modern high-intensity agriculture or its shortcomings. The successes are immense. Because of the Green Revolution, agriculture has met the food needs of most of the world's population, even as the population doubled during the past 4 decades. But there has been a price to pay, and it includes contamination of groundwaters, release of greenhouse gases, loss of crop genetic diversity, and eutrophication, which is pollution of rivers, streams, lakes, and coastal marine ecosystems, contaminated by organic and inorganic nutrients that cause oxygen depletion, spread of toxic species, and changes in the structure of aquatic food webs. It is unclear whether high-intensity agriculture can be sustained. Because of the loss of soil fertility, the erosion of soil, the increased incidence of crop and livestock diseases, and the high energy and chemical inputs associated with it. The search is on for practices that can provide sustainable yields, preferably comparable to those of high-intensity agriculture, but with few environmental costs. Then, after thinking about all that information we just discussed and read and watched in that video, I want you to come up with some positive effects and some negative effects of the Green Revolution. So because see how it has an S at the end of effects, there should be at least 2 positive and 2 negative effects for each. Thank you.